Good morning, traders. Today is Tuesday, July 26th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. All right, what are we looking at here today in the markets? Well, yesterday was a balanced day. The market just rotated sideways, staying inside the previous day's range, inside Friday's range. That wasn't a surprise to us. That's actually what we predicted as the highest probability case. And the reason being that we've had a lot of momentum to the upside, a very large trend. And when value was overlapping to lower on Friday, that was a signal that that trend is starting to cool off. Okay, so we might need to balance off that excess. There's two ways to do that. You can balance it off with time. The market just rotates sideways for however many days it needs to before it either breaks out to the upside or downside. Or you can repair it with price, which is where the market pulls back down with price until it gets to a low enough level to entice new longer-term buyers to initiate positions. So when I look at the ES this morning, it feels like the market wants to absorb this excess using time. It feels like maybe we just need to poke down and repair that poor low we left behind on Friday, and then we can start to do a little sideways rotation. But the NQ, on the other hand, does look like it needs to pull back with price. As you can see, the NQ more bearish than the ES. Value was overlapping to lower 2 days in a row, and they got a continuation of that in the overnight last night when the overnight tested lower as well. Still really just rotational trade, but they did test lower. So that's a little bit of a signal that this market might need to pull back down towards the 12,115-ish levels, or actually 130 levels. Looking for support in there to turn around and head higher. As far as what to expect on the ES this morning, we are opening inside the previous day's range, which increases the odds of chop. However, we are right on the previous day's low. So if we push below yesterday's low, I will be looking to head lower and repair the poor low left behind on Friday, and then see, do we get support there and turn around and start heading higher? If so, this could likely be the market forming a balance area low. So I'm definitely looking for the opportunity to find some support and get back up into the range once we repair that poor low. If instead we get resistance, if the market pushes below Friday's low, comes back up, gets resistance there, well, then I will look for a larger pullback, because that will be the signal that the market is going to repair the excess with price instead of with time on the ES as well. So when I step back and I look at the daily, all right, if I figured the market was breaking out of a range in here and it needs to pull back to absorb that excess with price, it's going to be somewhere in the 3,900 levels. All right, the market is open. And that also lines up nicely with this base of single prints here at 38.97. So if we break Friday's low, come back up and find resistance there, I'll be looking for the market to come down and look for support right around that 3,900 level. Turn around and go higher. But for the moment, well, we're inside of yesterday's range. The highest probability is chop. We've got resistance directly above around 39.58. If they can get through that resistance, the next push up will be right to the closing price, right around 39.69. Looking for resistance there and continued chop. It's a beautiful day to make some money. If we make a balance area low, remember, they'll head up towards the opposite end of balance. So if we do repair Friday's poor low and then get some support and start to head up, we could head all the way up to the base of the single prints down at 39.85. So don't get overly bearish until we get resistance there. As in my mind, the highest probability is we'll get support and then this will become a balance area For the ES anyway. The NQ feels a little more bearish. Speaking of bearish, already pushed below the overnight low. That is bearish to see. Do they now get resistance at yesterday's low? NQ bearish, ES chopping. Chopping it up. All right, so breaking yesterday's low is a little bit bearish to me and increases the odds. We're going to go repair that poor low at 39.4150. So I'm looking for resistance to get a push down there. And then I will get bearish if we do not find support. If we push below that poor low, come back up and get resistance, I will get bearish for continuation to the downside. But I'll stay neutral until that's confirmed. All right, so we're getting that resistance. Looking to repair that poor low. All right, NQ getting new sellers below the overnight low. That's bearish. Bearish for continuation lower. Rocket, all the big news at 10. Good times. Bring it on, news. Bring it on, news. Oh, that's also something I forgot to mention this morning. FOMC tomorrow. That's another reason for it to be a boring rotational day. People waiting for that news to come out. Brian, 10 a.m. Consumer confidence, new home sales, Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index. So you're saying Murderbot at 10 a.m. Gotcha. A little quick Murderbot. All right, so if we pass back through the opening price here at 39.53, once again, we'll be back in Chopsville looking for resistance above. But I still believe the higher probability is to head down and just repair that poor reference at 39.4150. As long as we stay below that opening price. All right, so now the question is previous resistance becoming support? This little node just below the halfback was resistance. Is that now becoming support? Can they keep those ticks above the zero line? It would appear not. It remains resistance. Resistance. Johnny, are poor lows and poor highs always defended by only a tick always defined by only a tick difference? What is the difference between two ticks? Yeah, it's one of those weird things, man. I can't explain why. Jim Dalton just figured it out from years and years of watching the market move. That amount, so when there's low volatility and we are in single tick increments, 2 ticks is the exact amount that the market needs to have good excess, to basically have completed an auction. And that when there is only 1, it means the auction is not complete. Speaking of which, we have a weak low now. In need of repair. And of course, when the volatility is higher, you have to increase to 2 tick increments. And then it's actually a point, because each tick represents 2 ticks. But always it's 2. That's the magic number. No idea why. So once again, with the tick starting to build momentum, starting to trend higher here, very high probability. All we got to do is repair this poor low, and then we'll turn around and head back up. No signs so far that there'll be new sellers, but we'll wait and see. Scott, yeah, that's what I said. So right now I'm in 2 tick increments, so it's actually a point is excess. It's 2 letters. Speaking of excess, boom, boom, 2 letters below that poor low. It is now repaired. So that magnet is turned off. It's no longer pulling price down. So now we're watching for taper in volume. Do less and less people want to do business? And let's see what happens with those ticks. If the ticks start to trend down, if they start to push lower, and we start to see a little bit of volume build up down here, we know it's new sellers piling on, which is resistance. So that's what we're looking for. Do we get it? Okay, to me, that increases the odds that we just got a look below and fail of a potential balance area low. So if we can get back through halfback, yep, I am bullish. Let's see how far they can push it. Next resistance is just above the A period high in this node of volume and time from the overnight, 39.58. All right, it's getting some support around half pack. That's bullish. Can it hold? Can it hold to get us back up through the opening price? Kathy, what is the potential of this bullishness? What is the potential of it? It's a potential rotation to the opposite end, which is those single prints up at 39.86. If you're asking what's the probability, like what percentage of chance it works out, tough to say, man. It's the A period. At this point, it's kind of a guess, 50-50. But I just have watched markets trade long enough to know if you just have 1 week reference that's holding a market down, it's just that one poor low tugging at it. Sometimes all it needs to do is break that poor low, and then it can rally. So I'm on the side of the bulls here. Let's see if they can hold it up. Obviously, the NQ is a little bearish, so that's tugging us down. Resistance. So at this point, I'm just looking for a break of the uptrend and the ticks. Then I'll be bearish. But as long as we can hold this uptrend, it will shock you how quickly they can flip it and reverse it. Nope, misread it. It's resistance. Back to neutral. All right, so let's get that news bot going. Get some volatility up in here right at what could be a balance area low. And see what happens. Oh, consumer confidence coming in lower than forecast. Surprise, surprise. People are pessimistic. All right, well, this is resistance, which is bearish. We just created a poor low. So now we're looking for the market to repair that poor low. Doing so immediately is a little more bearish to see. All right, folks, we are now monitoring for continuation to the downside. They tried to recover the market and could not do it. So we've now got resistance at yesterday's low. Right there at the halfback, 39.4650. As long as we stay below there, we're looking for continuation to the downside. And basically you just see each one of these references that I have marked on the market profile. Each one of those is potential support. So the low from the 21st, if that doesn't hold, we look to test the next low. If that doesn't hold, the next, and so on and so forth until we get all the way down to where we get some good support. My guess is it'll be around 3,900. Right in here. So we are looking for resistance and continuation to the downside. Man, it was the news. The news caused this selling. Still looking for resistance here, right around yesterday's low. Do we stay below the opening price? All right, well, this node that we're stuck in right here, 39.48-ish, this is acting as both support and resistance, the push and the pull. So whichever direction it breaks, we should get some continuation. So if we break back through the half back to the downside, we should get some continuation there. If we break back through the opening price to the upside, we should get some continuation there. And the tug of war in between the two. All right, it's looking like resistance. Looking like the sellers are about to win. If they push the market back through the halfback, all these buyers that are getting in right now, they'll start to get squeezed to the downside. And if they can push the market back up through the opening price, they'll start to squeeze the sellers. Right now, it seems like the sellers have a slight edge. Scoop ball, scoop chop. Zubazi, could it just be rotation again? It absolutely can. That's a very high probability considering the fact that the FOMC is tomorrow. But we're at a very critical level. This is a level where either, like I said this morning, there's two ways to balance off excess. You either balance it off sideways or you balance it off by pulling back with price. We are right at that critical inflex point right now. It's either going to go up, in which case we're balancing sideways. We may just have a rotational day, but we know it'll be up. But if we break lower, we're likely to get some excess to the downside. So we may even get a trending day down. So we're kind of just at a pivotal moment for it to break, and then we find out what to expect. All right, internals across the board are bearish. More sellers than buyers in this market. All right, I know I've done a lot of flip-flopping today, but I'm bearish once again. As long as we stay below, let's say 39.50 for continuation to the downside. Exciting morning, isn't it? All right, so now we're looking to test this resistance. If we are going to get a break lower today, if the market needs to go lower, looking for buyers at a lower price, if we don't have the buyers here, we should now get resistance at yesterday's low, which is the half back at 39.46. So this should be an opportunity to get into some resistance. Thank you to Laurel for the sub. Welcome. Happy to have you. Well, suffice to say, we haven't squeezed any buyers yet. We are getting more new sellers. But there's been no liquidation. Maybe below the B period low. In case we got some potential support right here around 39.34. Looking for a small bounce there into resistance. Monitoring for continuation lower. Johnny, if it breaks the range, regular trading hours low, yippee? You mean the initial balance once the C period prints? That would be bearish for continuation to the downside. Obviously, I remain bearish here. I am looking for a little bounce around 34. Back up into resistance. Something like that right there. But in just 3 minutes, I'll be switching streams to the private stream. The private stream for only cool kids. You gotta be cool to hang out with us. Chris, your mom said you were cool. Good enough for me, buddy. You're in. And that's the C period. Here to pick a direction. All right, so printing the C period here gives us an opportunity to look for continuation of the momentum to the downside. If the C period low dips 2 TPOs, that's a full point below the B period low, the market will be 1 time framing lower, which is bearish. So we are now monitoring for continuation to the downside. We'll be looking for potential support around 39.25, 39.21, and then anywhere between like 39.09 and 39.97. This area in here, very likely to act as support today on a larger pullback. Keep that 3,900 number in mind. With that, I bid you all farewell. Wish you a wonderful Tuesday. If you're in the brigade, let's ride.